Welcome again to the Product Management View webinar series. Today I'm happy to introduce Tom Chmielewski, who will be talking to you about the planning blueprint phase. You can't, or very well shouldn't, construct a building without detailed blueprints and expect the excavators, foundation workers, plumbers, and etc. to know what is required of them. Yet when it comes to building software, much of the time the planning is late. But despite teams being unable to develop fully built plans around the products, these projects still get a go-ahead and end up running into problems that were entirely avoidable. This webinar will address whole product planning, ensuring product success in the market. Now a little bit about your speaker. Tom Chmielewski is Vice President of Choice. Tom's organization is responsible for defining and delivering products for the banking, finance, and mortgage customers based on market research and customer delivery. He is also one of the founding members of the Atlanta Product Management Society. So today, to speak to you about the planning blueprint phase, I would like to introduce Tom Chmielewski. Take it away, Tom.
Thanks. All right, let's get started. In my 20 years of software product management experience, I've worked for both startup companies as well as Fortune 100 companies such as Compaq and Cigna. There have been several different common problem themes at all of these companies that I've worked at. Those of you who say, woe is me at my company, it's like that everywhere. This is why I started the Atlanta Product Management Society, to share best practices and to swap stories. Let's face it, we're all in the same boat. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I want to focus on whole product planning. It has bit many of us product managers in the butt many, many times. So let's get started. Let me give you a couple of examples. At one major computer manufacturer company, not Compaq, a release was planned out with high expectations. It was developed, and when it got to delivery, the manufacturing process just wasn't in sync. Orders were placed, and as usual, it comes at the end of the quarter so we can make revenue, and the product was unable to be shipped in time. The quarterly earnings reflected that, and so did a couple of people who got fired. At another company, the product was designed and delivered and sold, and orders taken, only to find out that there were no contracts for the customer to sign. The sales reps were rather peeved. Also, the ability for the ERP system to accept the orders wasn't in place either, so that really got to them. And here's a killer. I worked at one company where a product was developed and priced based on usage, but no one thought to work through how the billing would actually take place so the product didn't report usage. The response that some folks came up with was to go off and send a letter to the customer once a year and ask them how many transactions they processed, and then they would be invoiced based on that. Sort of like an honor system. Sort of like insane, if you ask me. My point is, if you don't plan the whole product up front, you'll run into problems like this company did. The product in this case was manufactured and delivered to the loading dock where someone actually forgot to schedule the truck to pick up and deliver the bomb. I took out the name of the company to protect the innocent. Obviously, they're not having a good day here. This is just to illustrate the fact that you have to make sure everyone's in sync. So let's talk about the blueprint phase. I call this the blueprint phase because it's easier to explain this to laypersons, most likely your managers, this way. It's not much different than planning a building. The product manager, in this case the architect, collects the requirements and puts together what they want the product or the building to look like. Should it be 5 stories? Should it have a central core, glass walls? What about an open atrium, parking deck on the side? You name it. The point is, no one can sign off on the project until the blueprint is complete. No one is going to start constructing a building until they have the blueprints to look at. In our case, it's the requirements document coupled with the design spec. Because face it, we always have more requirements in our requirements doc than ever can be built to or agreed upon. So what we need to do is pare that down and come up with the design spec that is the blueprint for what's going to be built. This is done in conjunction with engineering